Tomb Raider Anniversary. You know, this came out like about 6 months after my daughter was born, which is definitely saying something for how I can put a time frame on it. Now, of course, I didn't get a chance to play it until years later. And in essence, it's part as it is part of the Legend Anniversary Underworld timeline. It is in essence a remake of the first game. This is also dated to happen before the events of Legend. So, and this is only something I really learned recently. And I'll tell you one thing. Graphic wise, it's a great upgrade from it was an upgrade from the original. However, a lot of things were changed. I mean, of course, it begins like the first one begins with Nat Law offering Laura a chance at, you know, going to Peru to find something. But the cutscenes will reveal more as the game progresses. I mean, at the end of Legend, you hear that Laura's father was right about some of his expeditions. So he was obviously searching for something. One of those things that he was looking for was actually the Atlantean scion, which is the item Natla wants her to find. Actually, one piece of it. So she's heading off to Peru. Now, here comes the first change that I actually liked when compared to the original. You actually have to work your way up to the doors to open them. That is a nice little change, in my opinion. And of course, this also has mechanics that are more in tune with the original game. You're not limited by how many health packs you have. Legend, you were only limited to 3. But you also have a smoother progression through levels. I mean, when you get done with caves, you move on to the city of Vilcabamba, which isn't as impressive as it was in the first game. Larson is also a bit smarter than he was in the previous game, or in his previous adventures in the original timeline, which is an upgrade for Larson, let's face that. And of course, you move on from the sea to moves on to the next section, which is, of course, the Lost Valley. Now, this also was a major upgrade because the machine that you have to work to reveal the tomb, oh my god, it's so much more elaborate. And you actually need to get the cogs to advance with it. And of course, you go to Lost Valley, you run into the dinosaurs. And the T-Rex battle there is a lot more impressive. I mean, it's actually a for real boss battle. Which means, of course, Laura has to, in theory, what it was is that Laura has to, shoot the thing. It's supposed to charge at her. She pulls one of these uh, whatever, adrenaline, adrenaline matrix bullet, time things, which was all the rage after the release of uh, of the Matrix. Of course, if it goes wrong, you're screwed. You know. Now, in theory, that's how it's supposed to work. I swear, both times I played this game, that dinosaur just got stuck in a position. I'm literally whittling away his health by shooting bullets at him. Now, of course, this makes this fight a lot more fantastic, and of course, at towards the end, you have to do a little quick time event. That is my own. Again, it's a slight drawback, in my opinion, but it. I guess it works with the style that they were going for at the time. And of course, once we get done with the T-Rex and open up the tomb, we go in the tomb. The tomb is a little bit more changed a little bit. There's only one way up to the tomb. The tomb of, let's see, Qualipec. Which, I have to admit, the changes that was made was nicer. You obviously have to move some pillars around, which makes it a little bit more of a challenge. I think they discovered, like, when they looked at the original and saw how many people run up that tunnel first, or run up towards the burial chamber first, so they made it definitely necessary. And of course, the three switches for the gates are. You have to move pillars around so you get through and all that. Of course, once you get through all that and get up to the Tomb of Qualpec, we have some moment. As Laura approaches the Skian, one of the mummies moves and collapses. It's kind of neat to see her, like, now she's like, huh? Guns pointed at the fallen mummy. That's one on the chair, the other one there. Da, 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 da. Watching her switch targets, like, okay, who's next? Of course, when she grabs the Skian and then rushes out, just as the roof collapses, you actually see the body of Qualipec get up. Of course, once that's said and done, you move on and you move down to the next. You get out of there, meet up with Larson, who's about ready to, he does, he's ordered to take the Skian from Laura. Of course, he fails. Laura asks who's after the next part, where she finds out Pierre's on the case. Pierre's a case of he got wronged in this game. He's a little bit, He looks a little bit meaner, and he's bald, which they did him wrong on that. He looked a lot better in the original. So Laura is off to St. Francis's Folly. Of course, getting up there is another, Now, this is one they definitely changed. I think that was for the better. Because, like, just to access some secrets and all that, you actually have to look around, look in the, looking at the structure. It's more puzzle-like in a sense. And to add to it, when you move on to, Pierre talks to Laura instead of opening fire on her, where he gives her the challenge, a race. So Pierre's not aiming to shoot at you each time, which is a good thing in my opinion. And then we have the next step, moving into the hallways where all the Greek names are. And yes, now they have all Greek names, and the puzzles are some of them are a lot better than in the original. Of course, they kept the Damocles room the way it always has been. Well, no, I shouldn't say they kept it the same as it was the last time. It's actually a little more challenging. Not a bad challenge in my book. The Atlas room is still a race against a boulder, except it's a very big boulder, and you set that one moving. The Neptune room has been changed to Poseidon, and it too is a puzzle where you're having to work your way through the levels, raising and lowering the levels of water to progress. And of course, in the final case, we have the instead of the Thor room, it is Hephaestus. And yeah, they kept the lightning orb and the falling hammer and the block. They kept all that, but they changed how to solve it. Of course, once you get down to the end of that, uh, we move on to the Colosseum, which looks a lot more like a Colosseum now. And of course, once that's done, you know, and also everything that's being done is also utilizing the grapple power, which means you're running back and forth on the wall or swinging, which I'm okay with those. I'm actually okay with that. But after that, we are on to Palace Midas. Now, of course, Palace Midas is designed very well. However, you don't have to go looking for the hand to put the gold in. No, it's right there out in the open. And one of the more classic puzzles that was in that, well, you don't have to flip a series of switches just to open the gate to the next path. And some of those paths have been made made somewhat easier or somewhat more jumping around and following the platforms. However, the infamous torch puzzle, which had jumping across a series of like 5 torches with one a little off center, it's actually changed. It's a vast room now. And you can actually fake it to never start those torches up. I was surprised by that. But definitely makes that room a lot easier. Especially if you want to try and get all those secrets. Of course, from there, we reach a combined area where it is the cistern combined with the tomb of Qualopec. The cistern's a lot simpler, and once you get through it and get to the tomb, before Laura grabs the Scion, she reads about Qualopec, as it is his tomb, so there's some history about him. What happens? Well, this is when Pierre shows up, grabs the Scion, runs out, and the two centaur statues come to life. Which means now you have to fight those bastards. And to add to the danger, they have attacks that can turn you to stone. So the rules for this one is, of course, trying to get through them, get past them, yank their shields off, and then use the shield to reflect the stone beam back on them and destroy them that way. Once that is done, of course, you move on to the next section of the game. Of course, through the cutscenes that when you find out where Natlas sent Pierre and sneak into her office and find out things, you hear her talking about how she's wondering how are we supposed, you don't think she's going to give it to her? No, not with what her father was looking into. So this is one of those hints that her father was looking into something. And as a reaction, you're supposed to. This fuels you. And she has a vision after getting the second Scion piece of that she has to go to Egypt. Now, these three levels does both justice and injustice. I mean, part of the justice that does get done is that you know the puzzles make sense. The puzzles are decently done. I mean, the jump across the statues is rougher. The climb up to the upper part is trickier. Your jumps, you have to do a jump back from a rope swing if at one point. You also have to make some rather timed shots, which is tricky. I mean, you have to adjust your sights to do it. Well, lo and behold, once you are successful in all that, you move on to the obelisk. From the city of Kmun to the obelisk of Kmun, which is an impressive thing. Unfortunately, the level has some bugs in it. And when I say it has some bugs in it, I'm not kidding you. You are literally facing a bit of a danger when you're fighting them. I mean, when you're trying to even do one jump, the only way around the bug is to make a tricky jump where you hook onto a grapple point in the ceiling. Now, of course, once that is done and you move on, get all the items for the obelisk to open up the way to the sanctuary of the Skian, and this is a level that was a mixed bag, in my opinion. I mean, I like the puzzles they have to get the Ankhs to access the next set area, or to open the path to the Skion. I like those obelisk puzzles. They're thinkers. Unfortunately, they took away the grandeur of going after, go finding that giant sphinx. And this is a negative in my book. You still have the swim through to, swimming through so you can get the item, get to the items you need to get, or get to where the Skion piece is. But once you successfully do that, what you have is another. You have an epic battle against a bunch of Atlanteans, and then you have to maneuver through pillars to get to the points where you would have to put in the Skion pieces to access the third piece. Well, I will say that it's nice not having to fight Larson to get at the final piece. But there's a reason they did it. See, once you get all those pieces of Skion and put them in place, what you now have is, well, what you have now is you learn the truth about Natla. And as Laura comes out of the tomb, she ends up caught by Natla, Larson, Cold, and the kid. Now, the kid is the same as that skateboarder from the first game, and Cold is, of course, the big guy. Well, of course, Laura wants, Natla wants Laura killed. So you have our cutscene moment where she escapes. She gets on the boat. And so Laura's now following Natla into the mines that lead to Atlantis. The Golden Pyramid. Their Great Pyramid. Now, here's where it gets tricky. Because the mines you have to go through without your weapons. The mines are a little bit simpler now, which makes a little bit more sense. And of course, once you get the fuses in your guns, you have to move a cart so it will bust through the wall, but Larson shows up. Laura showing that she's badass now. And now certain things, I just got done talking about Legend in weeks prior. In fact, that episode is going to be coming out probably the day after this video premieres. And so, what am I dealing with? I am Laura is now, having forced to shoot people. Of course, the trick is, this Laura is not like her previous timeline. She's not pure badass. Laura is a little more a bit of a negotiator now. This one is. Also, with both her parents are dead. Not have disowned her. So Laura works her way, through the mess, finally confronting the kid and the other goon, which you beat in the quick time events, which they in essence kill themselves. And Laura has to make her way into the pyramid. I like how they changed this. This one was a nice change because you had to figure it out. You had to land on certain pillars so they then activated and went down. I like that. And then you go into the Great Pyramid. And you have to get to the top. This was a bitch. At least they put checkpoints for each time you cleared a section going up. You had to hit marks on the wall to activate a timer. Then you'd have to shoot the Atlanteans, move your way up, and eventually, go through all these levels to get to the top of the pyramid. And some were and one was just so terribly tricky, I had to actually purchase a controller just to do it. Of course, once you get through all that, you then have another trial where you have to fight at least 2 Atlanteans, and you come across a Laura's doppelganger. So you still have the trick to cause her to fall to her death so you can progress. You then have to get into the Skion room, which is a lot easier this time around. Okay, it's easier in one way and harder in another. This time you don't have timers. Of course, once that's done, of course, you face off with Natla. You learn more. You basically get more of her backstory, that she was one of the 3 leaders of Atlantis, and she basically turned on them. Laura shoots the Skion, destroying it. This is a slight change from the original. Laura makes her way over to onto a platform, which is where the big thing is. So, of course, she's got to fight the big thing. This was a battle that's a little bit more strategic than the original. Because, yes, you gotta get this thing to rage, and you gotta destroy its hands, and get to roll off and fall to its death. After that, you are doing the process to escape, where you eventually come across Natla in the final room and fight her. which is a lot trickier. But we also get more exposition on things, and in the end, as the place goes, comes down, Laura escapes. And so she survives this remade encounter. Now, given what the track of the first game, you do have some exploring you can do at Croft Manor, which is nicely done. I liked it. And then after that, but you also have other things. I mean, you still have, I believe you still have her scope. Not that I think you have to use it that much in this game. You could choose to use large or small med packs. Overall, it's very nicely done. It works better for the Legend Anniversary Underworld timeline, but it's also a very good game. It could have stood alone. But, and it's not a big but when we get through Underworld, you'll understand why I say but. Now, Anniversary is a good game. Don't get me wrong. I'd probably, if you listen to what I say on the podcast episode for Tomb Raider Anniversary, uh, this is this is a game I'm glad I experienced. It is a little bit tougher in some ways and a little bit easier in others. And that's all I'm going to say about Tomb Raider Anniversary. I hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble on about it, and I do recommend to get it for yourself. And I will say this: the Wii version had something a little extra because of the motion controls, or how the controls worked for a Wii. And like I said, it's an alright game. If you are definitely a Tomb Raider fan and want to play all the games, yeah, play this one. And thank you for listening, and take care all. Bye.